Okay, hi, my name's Ovadia Labaton. Obviously, we've known each other for a minute. I'm one of the co-founders of The Perfect Jean, along with Zach Arnold. He's the other co-founder. Loosely speaking, Zach manufactures the clothing. He has a lot of the merchandising strategy, and I take care of a lot of the marketing and e-com ops on that. I've been in the business for an e-com for about 10, maybe even closer to 15 years, which is a little bit scary. I started my career, we opened a small venture partnership, venture studio at a web development shop. I was not ready to do that. I didn't know the venture side. I didn't know the e-com side well enough. So interesting year. And then I ended up on the founding team of a business called Kidbox, which was during the subscription craze. We'd put 7 to 10 kids clothing items in a box. Raised quite a bit of money. The strategy was to lose money and grow and hopefully either become a iconic brand in the kids space or sell it. And kind of as you got into 2020, funding got a little tougher. And so I moved on from that. And Zach and I, who had known each other for quite a while at that stage, decided to do something simple. The idea was focus on cash flow, be profitable, run a business. This was not supposed to be venture funded. We're not trying to be a $1 billion brand. It's really try to keep things simple. So to that end, we built The Perfect Jean. The reason we like to think it's simple is that Zach has all this manufacturing expertise, which comes with all kinds of cash flow help. We have very long terms, so we can afford to take some risk on inventory. And I come with a little bit of experience on e-com, and really the biggest insights was make sure that we can produce fantastic creative at scale. This was in 2020,
Sure.
Before it was creative volume was cool. So we were kind of on top of that.
Yep.
And also starting out with very strong unit economics. So that means we at least break even on the first order. There's nothing wrong with making money on the first order. But at least we want to break even. And then the whole game is retention. How do we make sure that we have people buying from us again and again? That's the equity value, and that's where the cash that's where the cash machine is. So we have cohorts that have repeat rates well over 50%. All of our cohorts, even going back to 2020, are still producing, still growing. None of them are completely churned. So we think we've built a brand. We think we have a great product, and all that to say, as we acquire customers, we make money, and as time passes, they need to buy more jeans, and because the product's great,
they buy from you.
They buy more jeans. It's that simple. So sounds easy, but obviously there's a lot of difficulties and pains in the ass.
Love it. Love it. Some parts of that story are actually new to me, which is cool. So you guys built kind of big business in the U.S. or sizable now, I'd say, and it's actually cool to see how far you've gotten with such a lean team. When you think about international, you guys have just started this out. What pushed you to make that jump, and how did you decide when was the right time?
So it's a good and more complicated question than people appreciate, because the easy answer is do international. Then everyone says that. Oh, I guarantee you 8 figures, 20%, what's in that? Let's take a step back from the I'll be ironic for a second, from the talking heads on podcasts. I wasn't looking at Ron at all. But from an operator's perspective, how did we think about it? First of all, English speaking, we're creative first. We really have a voice. So English speakers make a lot of sense. So we looked around, and you have the UK, you have Canada, you have Australia. These are sort of very similar, if not the same customer as the US. Similar fashion, similar price point sensitivity.
Yep.
And when you think about the UK, Canada, and Australia, you're basically looking at economies and populations that are roughly the size of California. If you ask me, can I add another California to the business? All day, every day, I'm in. Great. What are the challenges? And we are, I like to say flippantly, we're kind of lazy. Which is true in that we're not looking to build a huge team. We're not the best at building a team. We're not the best at managing a team. So we know we want to do things lean and light. So as we're looking to it, we're looking at there's duties, there's shipping, and very importantly, there's returns. So duties and shipping, there's a lot of companies that have kind of cracked the code on that. Not the biggest deal, but there are complexities and nuances. Shipping, critical. I am firmly on the table of look to Amazon and look to yourself. When you get something fast, you have this wow moment.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, wow, this brand's kind of awesome. They shipped it to me fast. They did something that most Shopify brands don't do. So we want to ship fast. We don't want things to take 2-3 weeks to get there. We're willing to pay for that. That's a brand and LTV moment that we consider critical. So we need someone who is going to work with us on shipping. We're a little crazy about shipping. We spend a huge amount of time shipping on how we ship domestically and optimizing it for speed versus cost. And so we want to do the same thing for international. And the last, and I think most important piece, is returns. Because we are now entering a world where merchants are desperate for short-term cash flow. And a lot of the, again, talking heads on podcasts are saying, you can charge $5 handling fee. You can do this. End of the day, that is a horrible, really shit experience for the consumer.
Yep.
I just bought from all of our competitors. Huge turnoff in so many ways when I see, $5-6 handling fee. And this is not even me paying. This is a business expense because I have to do samples. Obviously, you have to scout the competition. But it is such a turnoff when you see a $5 or $6 handling fee as a consumer. And when you see, if you return it and you, instead of returning, take a gift card, we'll give you an extra $50. I'm like, why don't I just buy something, return it, get for your $50, buy it again? All this stuff gets too crazy. At the end of the day, we model all of this on an in-store experience, which is you can't see the product online, or you can't feel it really. You can't try it on. So same as a store. You buy something in a store, you return it, you generally get 100% of your money back, no questions asked, no big deal. That's our model. And we wanted to basically produce a very similar experience internationally, because you need to feel the product. And to do that, you need an easy return at a reasonable cost. International returns could be a fortune and a half that just break the economics. So we just needed something that wasn't like $15, $20, $30 on an $80 purchase to get the product back to the US.
Yep.
So that was kind of our framework of thinking. Still maintain the great customer experience, still maintain the great shipping experience, and make sure that we have the flexibility and tools to optimize it as we learn and grow that side of the business.
Cool. And so what ultimately made you choose OpenBorder when you chose us?
Okay, so I basically had exactly this conversation with you.
Yeah.
As probably like a year ago.
Yeah.
I was very keyed into the returns more than anything. And honestly, you and OpenBorder were the only ones who were like, yeah, I get that. That makes sense. I hear where you're going with this. We have something kind of planned, and we're building out more tech and more boots on the ground. You need buildings to actually do this. And when you guys basically said, hey, we can do local returns. So a customer in the UK is going to get our product after 7-8 shipping days, which is too long, but it's far, so I get it. When they need to do a return, they're going into the OpenBorder portal, which actually we wanted to use the same portal as the US, but again, there's limitations. You have to make trade-offs. But they can go in, get a local UK label that looks familiar. It's not a stack of 35 pages of international returns with things, because I've returned things to Canada. It's a disaster. It's a mess. You get a stack of pages and it says, go to UPS. They probably know what to do with it. It's crazy. The customer should not have to do the work. So they get a UK label. They're shipping it to a UK location. As far as the customer is concerned, that return is very familiar, very simple. They don't have to sit around waiting until the refund, until maybe it clears customs, whatever. We know it's in the UK. It's going to get to the UK warehouse, which gives us all the flexibility to either refund on shipment or refund on receipt. And then how do we get the product from the UK to the US? You guys did a really clever solution, which is great. Let's just palletize it. And when we have a handful of pallets, we're going to put it on a boat. It'll take 60 to 90 days, and we'll receive it back into our warehouse. And the other important thing is you were very clear. You're like, look, eventually when you are ready and there's enough volume, you can use either one of your warehouses or our warehouses abroad, local, which is ultimately the right answer. Like, that's the mature business, but you got to test. You can't just throw money into these investments. So it was really the flexibility and the fact that you guys listened to what we needed on the customer experience side that made us say, like, yeah, we want to work with these guys.
Love it. You had a very good salesman, I think, in front of you.
He sold me. But it's actually been great. So I'm not. We're very happy. No regrets.
So let's take that forward now. So we got past, can we do this? Size and price worthwhile. Got past the returns, which is very important for you for customer experience. Now you're onboarding. What was the onboarding experience for you guys like with OpenBorder?
Okay, so it was actually pretty smooth. I think we can say we had a We had some technical issues with the 3PL on the integration side, which the only way to really say this, and I'm not trying to blow smoke, is you guys handled it for us. It was a bigger bill than any of us expected to get it done. It was longer than we expected. It was a little more painful than we expected. But you and the OpenBorder team just said, we're supporting you on getting this done. We signed up, so we're going to help you out on this, which was like deeply, deeply appreciated just from a partnership perspective. And from there, we had these like strategic conversations about what should we charge for shipping, and should we include shipping in the price on the site? How do we run these tests? And it's not to say we haven't had hiccups and questions and all the stuff we have. That's normal for anything complicated, but we've worked through them. So we as a brand, as people, are very comfortable with, I hate to say this, but we're comfortable with problems. We know there's going to be issues. We just need someone to work with on the other side to get through them, to ask questions. And when we choose our partners, vendors, whatever the word is, we're really looking for people who we can shoot the shit with on, just like have a good time. And that usually means that we're having a good conversation and we could actually solve problems together, because we don't know the answers. And we're looking to you guys for a lot of this answers and domain expertise. And that's what we need. We're generally speaking hiring expertise versus just hiring software.
Makes sense. You started running ads recently. I saw you started to pick up some volume. Talk to us about what that's been like, and maybe for what you expected versus how it's going, what you're looking forward to on that side.
Yeah, so we went into it pretty slow. You know, we probably went into it spending $200-300 a day just in Canada, saw how that went, got a few returns through the system, got some customer feedback. That was probably in March or April. We didn't really care about ROAS at that point. I think come April, we went proper in earnest. We basically took our best performing creative. We targeted Canada, UK, Australia came later, but Canada and the UK first. And we tried with a few different campaign structures, which was, I think we tried an ASC campaign, we tried CBO. We ended up landing on ASC. We put a cost cap on it because we have different unit economics for international. I made a big mistake, by the way, on that. And everyone should keep an eye on this. I believe the Metapixel reports revenue with customs and duty, or at least that's how we had it wired. And customs and duty is an expense, comes right out. So we needed to make, in May, we actually lost money, which I hate. I fucking hate losing money. But I made a mistake, so you have to sort of like just take a deep breath and say, all right, let's fix it. We did some math and we course corrected in June what our target ROAS is. And I think we're doing like well over 100 grand a month in sales, which is not crazy, but for month 3, knock on wood, I will take that all day. And we're like slowly but surely scaling it up. And we want to make sure that we're tracking a few things. We track profitability, which was built into the OpenBorder dashboard, which was actually awesome because I could see very clearly, oh shit, we're losing money, but we're hitting our target ROAS. Why is that? And you do a little bit of math, you figure it out. But like I have something that has the actual costs in it to say, this is what's actually going on. So that was huge. It helped us course correct after like 2 weeks. Instead of figuring it out months later. That was huge. That profitability calculator is a huge thing because we build all that internally for every other channel. Contribution margin, every expense down the line, it's always
takes time.
It takes time, but you have to dial it in. So having it, especially with something where the duties and customs and this and that, it's all the data points are kind of funky and you're like, where do you pull this from? Whatever. And what we basically did, we've run a couple of A/B tests. We include shipping in the price and we do free shipping. All that stuff, we're kind of like starting to dial it in. We're seeing growth. We know what our break-evens are. And it happens to be that this is our slow period for jeans. So in the UK, Canada, and the US, just because it's warmer, people don't wear pants as much. But we're actually really excited to see if we can get Australia to balance that a little bit. Australia is always going to be a little harder just because it's so far and it's just a little different. But that's our mission, is can we balance out some of our natural, I guess, Northern Hemisphere seasonality? And also, can we just scale this? Like if this turns into a $5 million, even if it's not the most profitable thing in the world, but if it's $5 million turning inventory, that's huge. That's valuable. It gets the brand out there because we also know that at some point there is a real international play. That's like having your own building, thinking hard about how do you advertise locally. We just started doing ads in British accents, which kind of came out awesome. And they're awesome for the US also because it's like really authoritative. I don't know. It's funny. I don't know why Americans sort of view British accents as so knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has this authority to it. It's really funny. But we're just starting to think. So it sort of like opens your mind a little bit. And there's this whole other area of the world, especially Canada, that's adjacent. It's the size of California. It's a big market, very familiar. These are the only reasons we don't sell to them natively is because it's not a U.S. state, which just means I left because
Sure.
yeah, whatever, no comment. But I left because it's just this like quirk of a border and customs and duties that make it hard to sell there. But there's no real impediment.
Yep.
Right? Like there's plenty of shipping infrastructure to get it there and to deliver it. The complications come around customs duty and all these little things that are just, they just exist and you have to navigate around. I don't know how to do it. I don't want to learn how to do it. So we're happy to have a partner who knows how to do it.
Love it. Let's take a quick deep dive actually into that 100K a month. You know, a few months in, not bad. I know you also got married recently, so that's also means you're doing it. You're doing pretty good.
It's double duty.
Not focusing.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk to us now about you had this new 7-figure business line growing. What was that journey like in those first few months getting up and running, and you know what worked and didn't work? You had some iteration phase.
Yeah. No. Really important question because our team is really lean and we lean heavily on agencies and consultants. So we did not want to jump into this for better or worse saying we have a strategy for international. The idea was really, and it was in consultation with you guys, was start off, get the logistics infrastructure in place, start with Canada just because it's simpler, it's closer, you can keep kind of like a finger on the pulse of the customer, much easier. Let's start there, start slow, and it basically becomes a meta campaign. So we work with Reach Digital, shout out to Archit and Rahul. I don't want to say shout out, that is very old fashioned, but they're awesome. And basically what we did was we took our best performing creative in the US and we just launched it. Once we saw that it worked, that you can make an impact, that you're like, you put money in and you get money out, it became oh, this actually works. We can do this. And then it became cool, what's next? So first thing we did was how do we make the pricing as simple as possible? We have a very, very like clear and important business principle that price is how you communicate. Price is one of your biggest brand points. It's how you communicate to the customer, how you feel about the value equation. And we don't like having things that have complicated pricing, discount this, up that. So we're like, all right, in the US, free shipping all the time. It's very easy to message. Can we figure that out for international? So we did a test with you guys that was build in, I think it was $5 or $10 of shipping expense into the price.
Yep.
Great. That actually showed really strong results in the UK. We doubled down in the UK on that. In Canada, for whatever reason, I think it was either break even or having like a $5 or $10 shipping fee had a better conversion rate or revenue per session. So we leaned into that. The next question that we had is like, how do we actually scale this? So that became a lot of fiddling with Meta. Where in the beginning, we were just kind of like, let's keep it really easy, let it burn on low. And now we're like aggressively incorporating, or more and more aggressively incorporating it into our media buying strategy and meetings. And it was like, Canada spent $200 today. It had a ROAS of 1.3.
Yeah.
And we're like, thumbs up, that's great, keep it going, blah, blah, blah. Now we're like, okay, what ads are we running? What's actually converting there? What's converting there, but not in the US? How do we want to think about this? Is this like more of a bid cap strategy where it's like spend maximum up to a certain rate? Or is it more we want to control the budgets? Were we thinking ASC? How aggressive do we do creative testing there? So we've been fiddling with all that. It's not a solved problem for us. I think we probably are at the point where we're ready to be more aggressive. We kind of have the economics dialed in. And I think come September, when we have the rest of the business kind of picking up volume because back to school, it gets a little cooler. It's not summer anymore. That's when we're really going to look to scale along with the rest of the business. One of the things we've been a little worried about is what does it mean if we can scale the international business at a much faster rate than we're scaling the existing business? Like, how does that work? What does it mean? It's a little funky, not for any really good reason, but it's just one of the ways that we're thinking through it.
I'll tell you a few things to think on that. So one, the pricing mechanics being different by Canada and UK, we see it all the time.
So bizarre.
So it's just like there's different consumer preferences. I've actually found oddly in the UK they're actually really like price sensitive. So sometimes discounts go better there. So this what you're seeing is why we allow brands to test, and not every brand will find the same rules in each country. So that's one. Now to your second question of what does it mean if international grows a lot faster than the U.S.? What I think will happen, I've seen for brands like yours that have very strong performance marketing function, is that you'll quickly catch up to where it's like if you added, you had this very good analogy of adding California as this other state, or adding an extra California, right? So imagine like you never advertised to California in the U.S., and all of a sudden you added it in. California would grow a lot faster than every other market until it caught up to it's kind of
there's
right
some balance,
size, right?
Yeah.
And so that's likely what will happen to you is you'll find that it'll go really quickly. You'll get to, I don't know what that number will be, 15, 20, 30%. And then going forward, it's just you're growing with this 30% bigger, base next to you.
It reaches parity with
And we just like it's like saturation rate. So it's pretty common. We tell people like a good aggressive mark is like 6 to 9 months in. If that number is 20, 30% of new order volume is coming from international, then you've kind of done it very well. So that's your target. That's my target for you.
All right, fine. Take it. I'll take 20, 30%. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
No, I think it's look at on some level we think about it as even if this is a break even, the international is a break even for us. It's huge for brand awareness. It kind of opens up a lot of interesting doors over the long term, whether it could be wholesale, whether it could be, look, if there's an acquirer, which isn't necessarily the mission today, but if there is, they're going to look at that and say, oh, you actually planted a flag there. And that means that there are a lot of acquirers who are like, I know how to actually do real business in Europe or UK or EMEA or whatever it is. So that is just saying, hey, we're there. You don't have to do the work. That's an important thing. And I think taking this 20% target or 30% target going out 6 to 9 months gives us something to work towards. It's interesting because we're risk averse, so we're not kind of just jumping off. We're kind of like, take it slow, same as we did with the rest of the brand. Make sure it's basically a break even, if not profitable. Give ourselves some margin of safety. We always say rule number 1 in business is don't lose money. Rule number 2 is don't forget rule number 1, at least in retail. But we're just doing it slowly, and I have the runway and time to make sure we're being thoughtful. We're not going to look back 6 months from now and say it's 20, 30%, but we actually pissed off all our customers and none of them are repeating. We want to make sure that the business dynamics are similar enough to the US so we have confidence that when we scale, we're going to see similar results as the US. And it's not just financial, it's customer satisfaction, retention, repeat rate, our cohorts growing. Because all of the business and all of our thinking, all of our mental math is very much tuned to the US business, obviously. We just launched Amazon, also very similar, kind of ramped up pretty quick. And we sort of pulled a light break saying, we don't really understand the economics here. Like repeat rate performs differently, return rates perform differently. What's the exchange function here?
Some cannibalization weirdness.
There's some cannibalization. We're like, I don't want to just keep spending money and growing these sides of the businesses if I don't understand what's happening. I do not want to look back 6 months or a year and say, great, we have a $5 or $10 million international business, but we don't understand it. We don't know how profitable it is. It has different dynamics and we need to think about it very differently. Like we haven't been doing a great job doing email marketing international. We don't understand GDPR well enough. We're doing all of it at the lightest level. And these are things that we plan to talk to you guys about and think through how do we do it. As we were thinking about international, we kind of took it in two different boxes of thinking about it. One is how do we strap it onto the US business without a huge amount of work? Let's say we're willing to invest 100 man hours in it, something like that. And is that going to get us something that just chugs along at either 10 or 20, 30%? So the answer to that we found already is yes. The second box that we've been thinking about is what could it become? Our goal is to build a brand. And someone said this to me recently and it sort of hit home. It might sound crazy. He's like 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, $50 million a year business. And these are big numbers. So I humbly recognize it's insane. He's like, it's all the same thing in the end of the day. It's the same business. It's the same mechanics, the same components. Maybe you get lucky. There's a handful of e-com brands that actually grow into the $100 million range. And from there's an even smaller slice that gets into the 500 million. There's one or two that hit $1 billion in sales. I think it's Quince is one, which is a remarkable story. Very forgotten, very below the radar, but I think I've heard through the grapevine they do $1 billion, so that's crazy. But if you want to really grow, you have to not think of yourself as an e-com or a D2C brand. That's like D2C is this not really delicious business. It's very hard. The economics are challenging, variable costs, constantly fighting inflation, whatever. So when we think about like, hey, are we just going to sit on a nice small to mid-sized business, make money, it's our job, great, go home, enjoy life? That's option one. But the other option is, how do you turn this into a proper brand? How do you turn this into a fashion destination, which is about your merchandising strategy, it's about your brand awareness, but it's also about where else can you sell your product? It's about distribution channels.
Yep.
So going back to what we were saying before, is we look at it as the easy, like, strap it onto the US is, let's add 3 or 4 Californias. But the reality is, when you've planted the flag internationally and you're saying, hey, we're actually a brand that has some global recognition,
Yep.
that opens up this entire universe or an entire globe of people you can talk to, whether it's about wholesaling internationally. Huge business, not easy. Most US brands are not going to figure that out. But if you're actually operating abroad, it becomes a thing, or it opens up strategic partners who can work with you.
Interestingly, I think actually what is, it's hard to actually get those opportunities without the flags planted over a couple of years.
Exactly.
Right? Like, it's either a very expensive 1-year investment to try and make it happen, or it's a kind of profitable or lightly profitable thing over many years that builds up, that gets you those opportunities. So I think that's actually the right way to think about it.
Yeah, and that's how we're thinking about it, is when we talk with the team and we talk with ourselves, we're saying, what do we want to do? We really just want to build long-term equity value in the business. Like, that's what we organize things around. It's not about top line revenue. It's not about valuation. We don't care. We just want to build actual business equity. And to do that, a lot of that is the brand. And to build a brand, you got to have action. You got to have activity. You have to be selling product. You need consumers aware of it. So that's where it comes back to, is like, if we can figure out how to run these even at just a break even, which is on some level a crime. The point is to make money, right? Like, I'm very clear about that. But if we can plant that flag, grow consumer awareness internationally, have more people talking about it, we're patient. If it's not a 6 months or a 12-month thing. It's 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Same in the US. It's we're 5, 6 years in. We're by no means a household brand, but people have heard of the Perfect Jean, which is kind of cool. When you get friends who text you and are like, I just bought these jeans and I found out that you and Zach are the co-founders and I paid for them. They're like, I just got the editor. It's like the coolest thing ever. And people take pictures by like their neighbor's doorstep of a delivery of our blue bag that says the Perfect Jean. Like, that's when you're like, holy shit, that's kind of cool. Like, we saw the ad. So it's real. And if that starts happening internationally, it just opens up doors and options, and it continues to build a brand. Whether we are the ones to execute it, whether we have a strategic partner, whether we're selling it to someone who's like, hey, we know how to do this. Although it just opens doors, it makes conversations easier. It gives you optionality on that long-term equity build. And that's how we think about it.
Love it.
All right.